We've all seen prejudice and bias, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder why they're so sticky, why they seem so permanent? Well, today we're digging into some source material that argues the problem isn't just about what's in people's heads. It's about the hidden systems that are actually designed to keep these biases going. Let's get into it. So yeah, it all kicks off with this really frustrating question. Why are stereotypes so incredibly hard to shake? You can prove one wrong 1,000 times, and yet, there it is again. The material we're looking at today says the answer isn't just about trying to change one mind at a time. It's about understanding and maybe even dismantling the whole system that gives these ideas their power in the first place. To really get to the heart of this, the source asks us to basically reframe the whole conversation. It's time to move beyond pointing fingers. Let's stop thinking about things like racism or sexism as just individual personal flaws. We need to see them as part of something much, much bigger. And the source gives us a really powerful definition to work with here. It calls isms social constructs. And that phrase is so important. It means these categories we use, like race or gender, they aren't some kind of natural biological truth. They're ideas. Ideas that societies literally invented to sort people into groups and, pretty often, to justify treating those groups differently.
This is how these ideas get so much power. They don't just float around. They get woven right into the fabric of our society, into our laws, our economy, our culture. When you hear someone say something is systemic, this is exactly what they're talking about. It's not like a single broken thread. It's part of the entire tapestry.
All right, so that leads to a pretty big question, right? If these are just constructs, just ideas people made up, why are they so persistent? Why don't they just fade away once we realize they aren't actually real? And the answer the source gives is, well, it's pretty compelling and maybe a little unsettling. These systems stick around because they serve a function. They aren't just random, old-fashioned ideas. They often have a very real and very powerful economic purpose, creating advantages for one group and disadvantages for another, which then helps keep the whole system chugging along. So what do we do about it? Well, the source gives us two clear jobs. First, we have to consciously recognize these stereotypes for what they are. They're made-up constructs. They are not facts. And second, we have to actively challenge them. The source calls them obstacles to emergence, which is a cool way of saying they're barriers that stop both individuals and all of society from growing and reaching our full potential. And this brings us to what the source proposes as a solution. It calls it a path to consciousness. The idea here is that it's not just about fighting the system from the outside, but about making a fundamental shift in our own perspective from the inside. This slide shows that shift perfectly. On one side, you have the typical, stereotypical view, which just reduces a person to a label, right? A simple little category. But the conscious view, it does something totally different. It allows us to see the individual first, while also understanding that this unique person is part of a bigger, interconnected whole. And this isn't about ignoring our differences or pretending we're all the same. It's the exact opposite. The source suggests that real harmony is actually found in our diversity, but only when we can see and appreciate how all the different unique parts relate to each other to make the entire system work. It's a really powerful way to think about what a healthy society could look like. So what's the end goal of all this? Why does understanding all this even matter? The source calls it unlocking our emergence. So let's break down what that actually means. It really boils down to two key takeaways. First, and this is the hopeful part, the source is really optimistic that we can unlearn even our most deeply rooted biases, as long as we make a conscious effort. And second, when we start to see everyone as a part of one single unified whole, bias just starts to lose its power. It becomes, as the source says, immaterial. And when that happens, we are all finally free to grow, to emerge. So that leaves us with a final question, a personal challenge, really. Knowing that so much of bias is built on these made-up ideas, what's one assumption, maybe about a group or an individual, or even about yourself, that you can start to question today?